Hi everyone, welcome to this week's Halton Hills housing update. So lots to pick apart this week. It was not a great week for buyers because inventory has completely plummeted again. I am really fascinated by what happened this week. So let's look at the numbers. So in Georgetown this week, we had 23 properties sell, which is a high number for Georgetown. 18 of them sold over asking, so still the bidding war story happening. We only had 17 new listings, so that means our inventory is majorly down. In Acton this week, we had 2 properties sell, which is a low number for there, and only 2 new listings. So not a ton of new activity happening in Acton. Both of those listings that sold over asking. In Glen Williams this week, there was no sales, but 1 new listing. Limehouse had 1 sale and 1 new listing. The rural market this week is definitely supporting what I've been talking about all year. We saw 4 sales in the rural market this week and 3 of them over asking. We have had a very slow few weeks in the rural market, and town had a ton of inventory. So we were seeing slow in the rural, but lots happening in town. And now with town becoming a situation again, we are seeing the rural numbers spike again. So again, I just find this stuff fascinating because I definitely think there's a correlation. Another interesting thing that isn't going to help the rural market is there was no new properties for sale. So I don't know if like the rural people started to notice that sales had dipped and stopped listing, but overall we are in a predicament again. Last week, over 75% of the total sales in Halton Hills got over asking. That is a huge number. Like to still see 3/4 of the market getting well above their list price. And I'm noticing that list prices are starting to come up a bit. So this is still just indicating that despite the changes we saw last week, we definitely did not feel a shift yet in anything to do with bidding wars or pricing because everything is still up. So now the real story this week is looking at available inventory. So last week we were at 90 active listings. Weeks prior to that, we were hitting into the hundreds. This week we are down to 76 active listings. This is terrible news. Like not only did we go backwards, but like we went backwards a lot. So looking at Georgetown, last week we were at 42, this week we're down to 34 active listings. It is actually wild. So 34 is starting to hit numbers that we were in February and March when things were crazy. I don't know what's happening. I do not know why people are not listing their homes, but we are getting back into really scary territory on low inventory. Looking at our price points, under 700,000 this week is remaining the same at 5 active listings. Most of those are condos or fixer-uppers, so like nothing crazy happening under 700,000. All our other price points are down this week. So 7 to 800,000 is down to 7 active listings from 8. Not a huge drop, but again, that price point, we see stuff come up, we see stuff go. So that price point is always up and down. Our price point between 800 and $1 million is down to 6 active listings from 9. This price point cannot hold enough inventory. It is insanely busy. It is definitely where we have seen the most properties transacting in the last few months. And honestly, 6 active listings in this price point, very bad news overall, because this price point, when it's sitting a bit higher, it helps the lower price point and the upper price point. Right now, 800 to $1 million sitting at 6 is an indicator that we are in trouble. So now our $1 million+ price point, we are down to only 17 active listings. We were at 25 just a few weeks ago, and now that number is dropping as well. So as that number drops, my theory that the rural market picks up is kind of being supported with what we've seen in the rural sales, because the $1 million+ is really the similar price point to the rural market. We see very little in the rural market come up under 1 million. So when there is less to choose from in town, we see people looking out to the rural market. I'm going to be watching this closely, but overall, super bad news for buyers. And Really good news if you've been thinking about selling your house that we're still seeing this activity, because you're still going to be getting that premium. I don't know if in the coming weeks we're going to feel the shift from the new stress test, but so far, no indicators of that. In Acton this week, we have 10 properties available, which is the same as last week, but we have no properties available over $1 million. Everything's under $1 million. Glen Williams remain the same this week at 6 active listings, which is high for the Glen. Limehouse is down to 4 active listings, and the rural market has dropped from 27 to 22 active listings. With it being the end and start of last month, we see a lot of properties expire and some not re-enter the market. So that does not help our overall inventory numbers, but rural's down to 22 active listings. So overall, inventory is just too low again. We are not as low as we saw in the crazy months, like in February. I think we got down to about 39, between 39 and 45 active listings. We were sitting in the really scarce time. But we had such a promising jump there in May. So now we are sitting between sort of our peak of 103 and our low end of 40. I am not feeling great about this news. The summer is typically a super low time for listings. We usually have a very busy May. So I'm hoping that that shifts into June, but so far we have not felt any relief for buyers. And these numbers are not showing us that we're going in the right direction. So I'm really excited to see if next week we see any kind of change after our first real full week of the stress test being in place. Right now, the story's the same as it's been the majority of 2021. Inventory's low. We're still in bidding wars on majority of listings, over 75%. We just are not feeling a change in this chaos. So I will be back next Tuesday, hopefully with some good news for buyers and sellers out there. It is still a great time to get your house on the market and capitalize. So hopefully that message gets out and we see more properties hitting the market. I'll see you all next week. Have a good week, everyone.